What's up, guys? My name's Brandon, and we are less than 1 week away from Apple's annual Worldwide Developers Conference, and this year, it's looking like it's going to be one for the books because there is a lot of exciting stuff that Apple could be introducing at this event. And we're not just talking about software, we're talking about hardware as well. And that's what this video is all about. I wanted to share with you guys the latest leaks and rumors surrounding the hardware that could be announced as early as next week at WWDC 2021. And before anybody says, well, oh, this is only a software-focused event, you're right, it is mainly focused on software, but Apple has released hardware at WWDC many times before, and it actually just happened 2 years ago in 2019 when they introduced the new Mac Pro and the Pro Display XDR. And I've noticed quite a pattern recently where it seems like every other year Apple introduces some new hardware at WWDC, and if the last time that happened was in 2019, add 2 years onto that, you can kind of see where I'm going here. So let's go ahead and get into the latest leaks and rumors surrounding the hardware that could be coming at this event. And we're going to start with the most anticipated and the most likely product to be unveiled at this event, and that is the all-new redesigned MacBook Pro. So we've been hearing tons of rumors about a new MacBook Pro ever since really the M1 MacBook Pros were released back in 2020, because the M1 only came in a 13-inch model, and a lot of people with the 16-inch model and other sizes were like, I want a bigger MacBook. So that's when a lot of the speculation began for what the next MacBook could be, in the 16-inch variant. Well, now that 16-inch model is right around the corner, and one of the most reliable Apple sources is Mark Gurman from Bloomberg, and he published a piece a couple of weeks ago detailing what we can expect from Apple this year in terms of hardware, and he dropped some bombshells in this report. Now, he starts off by saying that redesigned MacBook Pros are expected to debut as early as this summer, which of course is at the end of June. That is when summer starts, and that would line up with Apple announcing them at WWDC and shipping them out later in the month, like they did with the iPad Pro and the iMacs last month. And also, John Prosser confirmed that a new MacBook Pro would be announced at WWDC. Now, not only will this new MacBook Pro come in a 16-inch variant, but there will also be a 14-inch model. But these won't be like the M1 MacBook Pros, which had 2 Thunderbolt ports and a headphone jack, and that was it. These redesigned machines will have, quote, more ports, which probably means 3 to 4 Thunderbolt ports, plus an SD card reader and an HDMI port, both of which are massive additions for anybody who does creative work, which is, kind of who Apple is targeting with these higher end machines. And we can also expect a headphone jack to stay on there as well. And for some people, it's going to be a big deal. Some people, they're going to love it, but the touch bar is also expected to be removed with this new redesigned MacBook Pro. And there are other additions as well, including a redesigned chassis and MagSafe charging. So you're going to have a MagSafe type charger, just like we had back in the day on the old MacBook. So this is going to be great, not only because it's really satisfying to kind of, plug it in and unplug your MacBook, but also if somebody trips over your cord, your whole MacBook's not going to go tumbling over. You're just going to kind of unplug from the MacBook instead, which is great. And this was kind of hinted at by what Apple did with the M1 iMac. So it's a magnetic charger back there. And speaking of the M1 iMacs, we could see Apple continue the trend of flat, minimal product design with this new MacBook Pro. I would expect a more flat and a more thin design, along with the removal of the word MacBook Pro on the bottom bezel, just like we saw Apple do with the iMac with the No Apple logo on the front bezel. We can probably expect to see that with this new MacBook Pro as well. Seems like Apple is really starting to take a more minimalistic approach with their products, which I'm here for. I love minimalistic product design. And we could also see that Ethernet port built into the power brick of the MacBook Pro, just like we saw with the iMac this year. Now, when it comes to the mini LED display, the rumors have been all over the place. Originally, it was reported that it wouldn't be coming on the MacBook until 2022, but now DigiTimes is reporting that components for the mini LED MacBook Pro are shipping in Q3 of 2021. So this would mean that Apple could announce the MacBooks at the Worldwide Developers Conference and just ship them out sometime in July. And we could even see a staggered release for the 14 and the 16-inch models as well. So yes, all of the exterior changes expected to come to this new MacBook Pro are awesome, but when it comes to the performance, that's when we're really going to start seeing some dramatic improvements with this new MacBook Pro with that M1X or M2 chip. We still don't know exactly what Apple's going to be calling it, but most people are kind of thinking it's going to be the M1X chip. So according to Mark Gurman, Apple is planning 2 different chips for these MacBooks, but they will both have a 10-core CPU, where 8 of those cores will be high-performance cores and 2 will be energy-efficient cores. And for the graphics, Apple will be offering 16 and 32 core options. So that is just insane. And just for comparison, the M1 MacBook Pros have an 8-core CPU with 4 high-performance cores and an 8-core GPU. So this new model will have 4 times as many graphics cores and 2 times as many high-performance cores. So obviously that does not, translate to real world usage, real world performance being like 4 times better, but it's going to probably pretty dramatically improve the performance and especially the graphics performance with these new chipsets. And when it comes to memory, this new MacBook Pro will reportedly have up to 64 gigabytes of RAM. 64 gigs. Again, that is a 4x increase over the 16 gigabytes of RAM offered on all of the M1 machines. There's only 8 and 16 gigs, but now it's going to go all the way up to 64 gigs configurable. So yeah, this new MacBook Pro with the M1X or the M2 chip, whatever it's going to end up being called, looks like it's going to be a massive improvement even over the M1 MacBook Pro and especially over the Intel 16-inch MacBook Pro, which I still have and I will be comparing those. But which one are you guys going to want? Are you going to want the 16-inch or the 14-inch model? We still don't know if there's going to be a big difference between the two aside from the screen size. We'll have to wait and see on that because we have not heard specifics on that just yet. Now, next up is a product that is less likely to be announced than the MacBook Pro, but it is definitely something that is possible, and that is the new redesigned Mac Mini. And this one is really interesting because according to John Prosser, the new Mini will also be getting a redesign, and as you can see by these renders, it could be getting significantly thinner than the current M1 model and also feature a plexiglass-like top, similar to the original Apple TV design. And because of that plexiglass-like top, we could even be seeing two-toned, colorful Mac Minis coming this year. And this new Mac Mini will offer that same M1X or M2 chip that's going to be inside of that MacBook Pro, which will offer dramatic improvements over the M1 Mac Mini and hopefully better Bluetooth and better Wi-Fi, because that was kind of a train wreck when the M1 Mac Mini came out. That could even be a reason why we're getting a redesign, but that's all going to be great. But the real, special thing about this new Mac Mini is going to be the I/O. My biggest complaint about the M1 Mac Mini was the lack of ports. We had 2 Thunderbolt ports on the back of that Mac Mini, and one of which is taken by the display. So you really only have 1 Thunderbolt port on the Mac Mini, which was just crazy. It drove me crazy. I got a dock from day one because I cannot stand having just 1 port. And now the 2021 Mac Mini is looking to change that for the better. And that, of course, is thanks to that M1X chip. So thanks to that M1X chip, Apple is able to offer 4 Thunderbolt ports and 2 USB-A ports on the back, along with an Ethernet port and an HDMI port. And it's also going to have the same magnetic power connector that the new iMac got, and of course similar to what we see on the MacBook as well. But it's of course going to be more similar to the iMac because it just plugs in like you would see on the back of that new M1 iMac. So thankfully, we're getting more ports with this new Mac Mini. That's going to be an instant upgrade for me, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get an SD card reader, so you may have to keep that dock around and still use that for the SD card reader. We've also heard rumors of a new Thunderbolt display coming from Apple very soon, but we haven't really heard too much about that recently, so I would kind of keep your expectations low for that, but that is also a possibility, and it would only be right to introduce that after introducing the new Mac Mini. And then finally, the final product that we could see announced as early as WWDC next week is new AirPods, the 3rd generation AirPods, which have been rumored and leaked several times over the past 6 months. We've seen images of them. We've heard pretty much everything about them. And apparently Apple is readying those AirPods right now, according to Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg. And again, we have seen several sources say that these new AirPods were coming in 2021. So there's a pretty good chance they are coming this year. And again, they could be coming as soon as next week at the Worldwide Developers Conference. And these AirPods will adopt the design of the AirPods Pro, but they're not going to include the Pro features like active noise cancellation and transparency mode, since of course they're going to be the entry-level AirPods in the lineup. And going back to those sources who mentioned the new AirPods 3, Hits Daily Double was one of those sources who said that the AirPods would be coming, quote, in the coming weeks. And they reported this alongside the new lossless and spatial audio features in Apple Music. But of course, those were announced in a press release a couple of weeks ago, but there were no mention of the AirPods 3 in that press release. And obviously, we have not seen them since. So, Hits Daily Double was right about one thing, but not right about the other, which means that both of them probably exist and both are probably coming very soon. Just we haven't seen the AirPods just yet for some reason. So Apple could be releasing those and, talking more about the lossless audio and things like that at the Worldwide Developers Conference. So I do think that the AirPods 3 could get announced at this event, especially because there's not really a ton to talk about with them. There's really not a ton that's changed aside from the design. So it wouldn't really take up too much time at the event. So I could see it there, but that's also reason to believe that this could just be a press release for the AirPods. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, there you have it, guys. Those are the 3 or the 4 most likely products to be announced at the Worldwide Developers Conference next week. Of course, the MacBook Pro, the new 14, maybe 14 or 16 inch, it may just be one model, is the most likely to be announced at the Worldwide Developers Conference. Of course, we could see both models as well. We don't know yet, but a new MacBook Pro is by far the most likely to be announced at this event, but we could also see multiple others, as I mentioned in this video. So let me know what you guys think about these new products. Which one are you expecting, to see? Which one are you going to be buying? Let me know all of your thoughts down there in those comments below. Also, I will be doing more coverage on the software side of things, of course, since this is a software-focused event. So I will be doing more videos on that. And if you guys have anything specific you want to see, let me know down in a comment below. Also, don't forget, I will be live streaming during the Worldwide Developers Conference on June 7th. So make sure you keep it locked to the channel. Make sure you are subscribed with that bell clicked, and you will always be notified when new videos and new live streams go up. But anyways, there you have it, guys. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.